Well, so the song is "How Deep Is Your Love," and we're not talking about the Bee Gees song.
Right.
We're talking about Dru Hill, which is a
different depth.
I think they're different depth. and ironically, "How Deep Is Your Love" is part of a movie soundtrack as well. But, in any case, this is their biggest hit, as far as I know. As far as like the numbers are concerned, and streams and things like that. Was placed on Rush Hour. I'm not sure which version of Rush Hour it was, or
it was the very first
Rush
Hour.
Okay,
yeah,
with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
and I remember it well. I remember the music video was sort of tied with the movie and all that stuff. And it's a great. It's very representative of what that era of R&B music sounded like.
Yeah,
very very much representative of that. So
very strong MPC drum sounds.
Yeah.
That was that era.
So how did this song come about? Like, kind of at what stage did you get involved with it?
I was there from the very beginning of the song. It was kind of being put together by a team of people in the studio at the moment, and playing off different parts and coming up with ideas on the spot. We were at which is the very first studio that in LA that I recorded at, which was Larrabee. Larrabee West, I think, is what it was known as, which doesn't exist anymore, sadly. But a lot of records done at that studio, and it was an amazing place. So yeah, it was a kind of team effort on building the song, and it's not a very difficult song. The changes are really simple. They're kind of typical changes, but there were two versions of the song. The original version had a rap, which I believe was Redman.
Okay.
Either Redman or Method Man, or maybe both.
Okay.
I think it was Redman. And then the song got placed in the Rush Hour soundtrack, and they didn't want to use the rap, they wanted a bridge. So Cisco and I actually wrote the bridge for the song in a hotel in Hong Kong. And we went into a studio in Hong Kong, recorded the bridge. It sounds kind of seamless to me. You can hear a difference in the guitar, but it was the same guitar. I had that nylon string with me. And the bridge of the song was recorded in Hong Kong. It was a very different very different atmosphere.
Wow.
But we were hanging out with Brett Ratner and living the Hong Kong lifestyle for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was there during that video shoot for the song.
Wow.
I'm not in that video. I didn't want to be in that video.
Yeah.
But that song itself was a really interesting project because it started in West Hollywood and ended up in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if we might be able to play some of it and get to hear it.
Yeah. There's basically two different parts. There's nylon string, which is the main line that kind of runs through the song. But there's another line underneath, and I remember playing it, but I'm not sure if what's on the record is, if what's heard is kind of a keyboard mimicking that part, or if it's my part, or if it's both.
Okay.
So let's
it's your mix, so we're going to assume it's guitar.
yeah. And this mix is definitely guitar.
All right, let's give it a try.
Right on.
Tell me one little thing. How deep is your love for
That sounds incredible. I love that so much of that era of R&B had like that kind of nylon. Like people wanted that kind of Spanish style nylon acoustic on a lot of those.
It got very, very popular throughout, like, you know, mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
R&B. It was very Latin-ish influenced.
Yeah. But typically, would you use a pick when you were doing that sort of stuff, and they weren't actually hiring like flamenco guys?
Yeah, it all depends on what I'm doing, because I love to do both. I love to do finger style, and I try and keep a little nail left on my right hand. But I think for that line specifically, it just sounded better. It jumped out better with a pick.
Yeah. And for guitar, what do you think you probably used on the actual track?
I definitely used this guitar.
Okay. And for electric, what do you think?
For electric, it would have been Parker Fly.
Yep.
Which were very popular at that time.
Yeah.
Like mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
That was the hottest thing. That was the hottest new thing. And then I think I had 3 of them. At that point, I was touring with the Parker Flies. The thing I loved about them was the immediate acoustic access.
Sure.
Having a TRS output.
Right.
Being able to split, acoustic and electric.
Right.
Because I had the piezo bridge.
And what do you think you would have plugged into for amp on that?
It definitely wasn't my Rivera Bonehead, which is what I was touring with at that time.
The Lukather signature.
Yeah. The big ass, huge sound.
410s with subs.
No, it was 412s.
412s, that's right.
412s, then a separate 212 side
yeah.
cabinet with a separate power amp. So it was 100 watt.
And they're
100
pretty,
watt 3 channel.
I've seen it a couple, like they're like super wide.
Yeah.
It's like, it's probably one of the widest Riveras that are out there.
It's a 3 channel head.
Yeah.
And it's, it not quite hangs over the edge of a 412 cabinet, but it's pretty wide.
Right.
So yeah, that was my touring rig, which I probably didn't have in the studio at that moment. So it may have been direct, possibly a Boss GT5.
Right, so like the floor
Vertex,
unit.
Yeah, which I was using that quite a bit, especially for recording. It just made it easier back then. I guess with the evolution of guitar recording, there was like where the beginning where everybody was recording direct. There was a lot of direct guitar recording. Then everything was all mic amps, which we still prefer overall. And now we're back to the direct recording, which is so much fun.
Well, those Bosch, the GTs were pretty common even at that time. Like I know a lot of the Usher records that had guitar on them were done with those sort of Boss 4 units. A lot of times it's going DI, so it wasn't uncommon or unheard of for the time, for sure.
That GT5 had some beefy stuff in it too.
Yeah, I think some of it too. I think some of the effects were actually analog in some of those Boss 4 units.
Yeah, they were, especially in the 5. I think the GT6 was a little more digital.
Yeah,
but the GT5 was killer.
Yeah.